My journey as a truck driver has taken me across thousands of miles and countless lonely highways. But one night still haunts me more than any other. This is not some urban legend or exaggerated campfire tale. It's real. I was there. It was late November, around 2 a.m. I was hauling a load through the remote stretches of Nevada. The landscape was bleak, just endless miles of empty desert. The highway I was on was desolate, save for the occasional tumbleweed bouncing across the road. My only company was the steady hum of my rig's engine and the low rumble of the tires on the asphalt. I had been driving for hours, eyes half-lidded with exhaustion. The truck stop I'd passed earlier seemed like a mirage in the rearview mirror, but I pressed on, knowing I needed to make it through this stretch if I wanted to hit my deadline. There's an unspoken rule among truckers. When you feel the road get a little too quiet, that's when you need to pay attention. Suddenly, the CB radio crackled to life. Breaker 19. Anyone got their ears on? This is White Knight. I didn't recognize the handle, but it wasn't uncommon to hear unfamiliar voices out in the middle of nowhere. I grabbed the mic. Yeah, White Knight. This is Big Dog. What's your 20? There was a pause, followed by static. Then his voice came back, shakier this time. Just past mile marker 112. Saw something. Something not right, man. My eyes flicked to the mile markers along the side of the road. I was nearing 108, which meant I was about 4 miles behind him. What did you see? I asked, feeling my skin prickle with unease. Don't know, man, White Knight answered. But I ain't stopping. Just wanted to give a heads up. I chalked it up to fatigue. Late nights could play tricks on your mind. Copy that, I replied. Keep the shiny side up. Silence returned, save for the low hiss of the CB radio. I shook it off and kept driving. I'd be passing mile marker 112 soon enough, and I wasn't about to let some jittery trucker's nerves spook me. But then, I saw it. Just beyond the mile marker, something was laying in the middle of the road. I slowed down, headlights illuminating the object. No, someone. It was a man, lying sprawled out like he had been hit or collapsed from exhaustion. My heart pounded as I rolled to a stop, my truck's headlights cutting through the darkness, casting long shadows across the barren land. I reached for my phone, but out here, there was no signal. Damn it. I couldn't just leave him there. Reluctantly, I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out of the cab, the cold desert wind biting into my skin. As I approached, my boots crunching on the gravelly road, something felt off. The figure wasn't moving, not even a twitch. When I got close enough to shine my flashlight on him, I froze. The man's eyes were wide open, staring blankly at the sky, his face locked in an expression of pure terror. But that wasn't the worst part. His throat had been slashed, deep, and the blood had pooled beneath him, drying in the desert air. My mind reeled. There were no vehicles around, no sign of a struggle. It was like he had just appeared out of nowhere and met his gruesome end right in the middle of the highway. I backed up, my hand trembling as I reached for my truck keys. And that's when I heard it. A slow, deliberate scraping sound, coming from the other side of the truck. My breath hitched. I whipped the flashlight toward the noise, but the beam revealed nothing but darkness and desert. The wind howled, sending a shiver down my spine. I didn't waste any time. I sprinted back to my truck, slamming the door shut and locking it in one swift motion. My hands were shaking so badly, it took me 3 tries to get the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life, and I floored it, tires screeching as I sped down the highway. As I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw a figure step out onto the road from behind a rock formation. Tall, thin, its features obscured by the shadows, but its eyes. Its eyes glowed in the darkness, catching the reflection of my taillights. I didn't slow down. For miles, I didn't dare check the mirror again. The radio remained silent, and the miles ticked by in a blur. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, and my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. Eventually, I reached the next town, pulling into a well-lit truck stop and parking under the brightest light I could find. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to calm down, but the image of that man, his lifeless eyes, the terror etched into his face, wouldn't leave me. Neither would the figure I had seen in the mirror. Later that night, I overheard another trucker talking to a waitress about a stretch of highway near mile marker 112. How it was cursed. Drivers had reported seeing things that weren't human, things that shouldn't exist. And there had been murders too. Bodies found in the middle of the road, throats slit, just like the man I saw. I didn't speak up. I didn't want to be part of that conversation. I just wanted to forget. But every time I close my eyes, I see him, the man on the road, and the thing that watched me from the shadows. If you ever find yourself driving through the Nevada desert at night, especially near mile marker 112, keep your eyes on the road, and whatever you do, don't stop.